Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope and my team selection video for Game Week 24. This is going to be a bit shorter of a team selection video than usual because usually I have a lot of content packed into this video with my score, like a thorough analysis of my score from the past game week and also my score from my free hit draft from the past game week. But I've already talked about those two things in a previous video this week. So if you haven't seen that already, where I talk in length about my game week 23, how it unfolded, how it was before I went into game week 23 and what happened during it and the aftermath of it. And also my pretty good free hit score, not pretty good, but really good free hit score for game week 23 as well. If you want to see a video like that, it is in my channel and you can find that video in the description in this video as well. So yeah, check that out if you haven't already. But just to quickly recap game week 23, not the best game week. My second red arrow in about the last 10 game weeks or so. So that's not too bad, but I still haven't made that many gains either. I think I'm about the same rank as I was when I did my wildcard in game week 20. So that's a bit disappointing. Made a couple of mistakes here and there. Pretty much a mistake every week. It seems like I'm always really close to getting it completely right, and then I don't get it right. And that was sort of the case last week as well. So I did end up selling Salah for De Bruyne, and that funded me enough to get Holland from Alvarez as well. Didn't have to sell Solanke or Watkins for those games, which I didn't really want to. Solanke because I wanted to captain him, which was a mistake. He got only 4 points, and then Watkins because he had a really good game against Sheffield United, which was not a mistake because he got scored 18 points in that game. So I should have probably captained him instead. But either way, I sold Salah begrudgingly. I had kept him for a long while because I did expect him, or I do expect him still, to be back for a couple minutes at least in the final stages of the game against Burnley in Game Week 24. And then I expect that he will play both matches in double Game Week 25, where I would have really liked the option to triple captain him potentially in that game week. But now that I sold him to De Bruyne, it's going to be a bit more difficult to bring Salah back if I want to. So we'll have to see about that when it comes to my Game Week 24 plans as well, and how I could potentially fund a Salah move in regards to that. But the other thing that was bad about selling Salah was the fact that I did bring in De Bruyne, and he got 5 points, which is fair enough. But the fact that I brought in De Bruyne from a benched player, because Salah was going to be on my bench, I had to bench someone in my starting 11, and that player was Garnacho, who scored 16 points against my favorite team, West Ham, of all teams as well. So pretty disastrous game week for the longest time at least. But then Saka scored 9 points. Gabriel didn't score that many points on my bench either with -1. And then the City game completely changed my fortunes as well with Foden. Because for a while there I was below 100k rank during the week. But then Foden's 20 points really helped me because a lot of people had benched him for this game week. But luckily I didn't have to bench him, but I did bench Garnacho. But yeah, it's really sad that I sold Salah, just both because I wanted him for game week 25 and because I would have had Garnacho 16 points starting there as well. But the upside to it is the fact that I do have De Bruyne now, and I think De Bruyne is looking pretty good still. He's only he hasn't really exploded yet, apart from that one huge cameo performance where he scored 12 points in 20 minutes. But I don't think that's going to be the norm for De Bruyne. I think he's going to be more the type of player to get those 5 and 7 pointers as he's been getting now the past 2 game weeks. Instead, he's going to be just a consistent performer, but he plays for the best team in the league, with the best matches currently for the next 3 or 4 game weeks as well. They double in 25, they don't blank in 26. So I'm pretty happy about having De Bruyne, Foden, and Holland, but I really wish I had Salah still as well. So that's basically the end of the Game Week 23 conversation for me. I'm 36 points behind top 10k, which is not too bad. Only 4 points less than it was, or 4 points more, I guess, depending on how you look at it, more than the previous week when it was 32 points behind the top 10k. But that's still a pretty short distance to get into the places that I want to be by the end of the season at least. But yeah, that's my Game Week 23 score. Can't really do anything about it now, but I wish I had done things differently. But let's see if I can sort that out for Game Week 24 and beyond that as well. But before we go into my Game Week 24 plans, let's take a look at my free hit plans for Game Week 24 if I were to free hit this game week. And I don't really think that you should use your free hit this week. Last week I said the same thing, and I did actually score much higher than I did in my actual game week score. I ended up with 105 points, I think, on my free hit for Game Week 23, and I ended up with 72 points on my own team. So if I had actually used my free hit last week, it would have been really good for my rank. But yeah, that's just how it is. But usually I don't really think that you should use your free hit in these types of game weeks where you don't really gain much. It must be because of some major injury news and stuff, but I don't think there have been that many injuries the past week either that will make you change your stance from last week to need to make a free hit draft for this game week. But Yeah, I think it's better saved for future game weeks, especially for me. I'm looking at potentially game week 29, although a lot of content creators don't seem to like that idea. They like to save it for even longer than that, for game week 34, game week 37. But my team is currently pretty badly set up for game week 29, so I either have to wildcard in game week 27 or 28 to set up for 29, or I have to use my free hit in 29. So that's currently what I'm thinking when it comes to the free hit. But like I mentioned, a lot of other people want to save it for game week 34, which is sort of like a blank / double game week sort of thing, where you kind of want to have a free hit to be able to get the maximized potential team for that game week. And then game week 37 is going to be the biggest double game week of the season, so a lot of people want to have the free hit available for that as well. So in general, I think the free hit is better saved for future game weeks. You could also potentially use it in either game week 25 or game week 26, depending on how many players you have from Liverpool and Man City, and teams like Spurs and Chelsea and stuff who blank in 26. Because if you have triple Liverpool, triple Spurs, a lot of players from Luton as well who blank in 26, and also some players from Chelsea who blank in 26, then using your free hit in 26 makes a lot of sense, because then you can survive for a couple more weeks after that as well. So yeah, it just depends on your team really, but I don't think game 24 is the best use of your free hit, but maybe for some reason you need to do it, and if you do, this is my suggestion basically. So I'm going to go through a team from the goalkeeper and onwards. Goalkeeper is Ederson for Man City. I just think I don't really feel the need to have 3 City attackers or 3 City outfielders for this team, because I feel like there are good enough defensive and midfield and forward options to only have 2 City assets against Everton, because that is still a tough-ish game, because Everton away from home have been pretty good defensively this season. So yeah, I think Foden and Haaland is more than enough, because they are in the team actually. But Ederson, just a safe pick on a free hit, is much more viable, I think, to use these premium goalkeepers, because they don't really block a spot unless you really want to have a 3rd City attacker, for example. And in this case, I didn't. So Ederson, City, it just seems like they have the best chance of keeping a clean sheet this week, apart from maybe Liverpool. But I do like the outfield players for Liverpool more than I do for the Man City outfield players. So yeah, Ederson goes in goal. Virgil van Dijk in defense, I think he's a more sure starter than Trent Alexander-Arnold, who got subbed off before the hour mark last time around. I think Van Dijk is secured to play 60 plus minutes. He's also a really good set piece scorer when it comes to headed goals and stuff from set pieces. So he has some goal threat there as well. And he's playing Burnley at home, which is like the easiest potential match. So I really like the look of Virgil van Dijk for that fixture as well as a defender. Chilwell against Crystal Palace away. Kind of an outfield suggestion there. Not many people are thinking about Chilwell, but if you remember back through the start of the season, he was pretty much essential, at least in the eyes of a lot of FPL managers back then, because he played so attackingly, because he plays as almost like a winger most times. And I think that could be the case now as well, especially with the recent comments that Pochettino has said that he might switch to a 3 at the back formation. And if Chilwell plays as a left wing back in that formation, or even higher up as like a left winger, he'd be a fantastic asset playing against Crystal Palace away. And I think Crystal Palace now, without Elise, without Eze, is a nice team to target. So I definitely think Chilwell has a lot of value, and we also get to another Chelsea player eventually that I think has a lot of value as well. If you're looking to sell him this week, I think that would be a massive mistake. And I'm talking about Palmer, but I'm going to get to Cole Palmer pretty soon. Alfie Doughty, however, it's not a mistake to bring in this week, because he has a really, really good fixture at home to Sheffield United. Luton looked really good lately. Doughty has looked fantastic for the last, 10 game weeks or so. Really attacking on a lot of set pieces, just constantly putting in crosses, getting a lot of bonus potential and clean sheet potential in this game against Sheffield United at home as well. This could be a potential 15-pointer like we saw from Alex Moreno last week with 14 points on my free hit draft. So this could be the week for Doughty as well. So I really like Virgil van Dijk, Chilwell, and Doughty as my defenders overall, but apart from that, I don't really like that many defenders, as you can see from my bench, because I filled up the defensive spots on the bench with Udogie playing against Brighton at home and Branthwaite against Man City away. And Branthwaite is basically just like a banter suggestion, because he just keeps getting points on my bench, so I just might as well put him into the free hit draft as well and have some bench points from him there as well. Udogie I quite like. I've had him as a starter for the last 2 free hit drafts as well, in Game Week 22 and Game Week 23, and he scored, or at least in Game Week 23, 22 I didn't actually have him in the team, but he scored points there as well. 10 points in Game Week 22, 4 points in Game Week 23, and I think he can score points in this game as well against Brighton, who is a team that they can actually score goals against, and they can also keep a clean sheet against, like we saw Luton just did not too long ago. So quite like Udogie, but he's not like a super good option. So I prefer the starting three that I have with Virgil van Dijk, Chilwell, and Doughty. When it comes to the midfield, again, going with another Liverpool player, Diogo Jota. He's the player that I'm the most scared of not owning for this game week, because Salah's not fully back yet. And that means Jota's probably going to play. And he plays against Burnley at home, which is one of the best fixtures you can ask for as an attacking player. So Jota has been really, really good the last few game weeks, and I really regret not selling Salah to get Jota back in Game Week 22, or Game Week 21 even, which is a decision that I almost made as well. But then I just switched tactics because of future game weeks basically. But yeah, Jota has a really good fixture there against Burnley at home. I think that's a really good potential captaincy option as well. It's either him or Darwin, who's the other Liverpool player I have in the squad, that I might do like a differential captain as, or use as a differential captain. But for now, the captaincy is on Haaland, but we'll get to that pretty soon. Heung-min Son as well. He's back from Asian Cup now. I think he's going to play this game. I'm not fully confirmed if he's going to be ready for this game, but apparently at least Hee-chan Wang or Hwang Hee-chan for Wolverhampton is ready to play. So he might be someone that you want to have on your bench as well to come in for Son if Son doesn't play. But I think Son has a decent chance of playing. And then against Brighton at home, if you're free hitting this week, then that is the type of player you need to have as a differential, because most people will not bring in Son at this point because Spurs blank in Game Week 26. And Son is someone that has been sold from most teams. He's not that popular of a pick currently in FPL unless you've kept him since he went away from Game Week 21 onwards. So I think he's a really, really good pick. And he's also potentially a really sneakily good captaincy option as well, I think. You could definitely captain him if you don't really have that much faith in Haaland. Son could be a really good captaincy choice if we get confirmation that he's going to play. But that's a big if still as well. We still haven't received any word or any potential news from Spurs and how they want to use Son. Maybe they want to give him a little bit of a break before he gets back into it. But we'll see. They do have that blank in Game Week 26 where they don't even play in the cup final either. So he will get his rest in Game Week 26. So most likely he's going to be back and playing in this game, and he could be firing on all cylinders and be the best captaincy option. I think actually, just looking at this team, I think I would just switch the captaincy from Haaland to Son. I think that's better. So that's actually what's going to be happening for the free drafts when we look at the results for next week as well. Son as captain. I think that's a kind of interesting shout if he's ready to play at least. So keep that in mind at least. Foden against Everton at home, just fresh off his 20-point performance against Brentford. Foden is just amazing lately, and you'd expect him to play in the same role that he scored 20 FPL points from last time around. I scored a hat-trick. Absolutely fantastic performance for Foden, and I think you just need to have him in any team currently, whether it's a wildcard team, it's a free hit team, your regular team. Foden is just a must-have at this point, and a must-have in this free hit draft as well. Cole Palmer playing against Crystal Palace away. I've seen a lot of people now looking to sell Palmer because he doesn't play in Game Week 29 anymore. We expected Chelsea to go out against Aston Villa in the Cup, but they didn't. They went through, and now it seems like they're going to play in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup and going to miss Game Week 29. So people who don't want to have that many blank players or blank Game Week players in Game Week 26 are looking to sell potentially Palmer for this game week or next game week. Next game week I could make more sense of it because he's playing Man City away, but this game week he's playing Crystal Palace away, and I think that's a fantastic fixture. I don't think you should sell him at all this game week. I think you should wait for one more week, especially if you bring in someone like Jota. I don't think Jota is a really good long-term prospect in terms of Salah coming back. I don't think Jota is safe for minutes, so I think selling Palmer for Jota could potentially work out this week because I do really like Jota, obviously, like I mentioned previously. But I think also Palmer is a really good option for this week. He just keeps scoring goals every single game week, whether it's from penalties or non-penalties. So I would not be too happy about selling Palmer this week if I was on a regular team. So I think you should keep him, and I think he's also probably one of the best midfielders to have in a free hit draft as well for this game week. So Crystal Palace, like I mentioned earlier, they're just terrible without Elise and Eze, and that's what they're going to be without this game week. So I'm expecting big things from Chelsea, and Palmer also fresh off the 3-0 win or 3-1 win against Aston Villa in the Cup as well. Looking really good now, and they also have Nkunku back, who's going to play. So high hopes for Palmer in this game. Darwin Núñez, he is one of my favorite picks currently for Game 24 and Game 25. He just got his rest against Arsenal, and Liverpool looked not the same without him as well. They really struggled to create many chances. Granted, it was Arsenal, which is a really good team or really tough team to break down and play against. But I think Darwin is just pretty much essential to what Liverpool try to do offensively, especially when Salah's not around. So I think Darwin is going to be really, really, really good this game week. I have him as a vice captaincy shout before I switch to captaincy to Son at least. But yeah, Darwin is just a really good player to have playing against Burnley. I think it's a game that suits Darwin pretty well as well. It just depends on if he can manage to actually score from his chances. That's always the question with Darwin, if he's going to return from those types of positions, if he's going to score from point blank range, basically. So yeah, let's see if it happens this week. I have pretty high hopes for Darwin, especially if you have him for this week and then the double game week in 25. I think within those 3 games, which are 3 pretty good games for Liverpool, Darwin has to haul in one of those, it feels like. But that could very easily happen in game 24 against Burnley, so that's why I think he should be in the free hit draft. Then we have Matthias Cunha, who's just in fantastic form lately. I think Brentford are sort of there for the taking. It's a team that is pretty easy to target when it comes to scoring goals. And Cunha just deserves some more mentions and some more praise. So he's my favorite differential in attack for that reason. Because yeah, I just really like Cunha as an option in general. I think he's been really overlooked. He's been fantastic for a long while now. He was really consistently contributing for Wolves earlier in the season, and now that they are going to have Pedro Neto fully back, they're going to have Hye-chan Wang back, and they're going to have Cunha back. It just feels like a lot of sense to have several Wolves players. I could have even had another Wolves attacker in this team, either Neto or Huang for that matter. So really like Wolves also as a team to have for the future game weeks as well. I know that they most likely blank in GW29, and that's why people are going to go without Wolves players, but that doesn't mean you should go without them on a free hit, for example. And even if you do, even if you save your free hit for GW29, I think those are the type of players you can bring in and have sort of an advantage towards, or compared to everyone else that are going to try to build a team for GW29 without the free hit. So yeah, Cunha just makes a lot of sense for me, especially against Brentford at home. I think it's a really good fixture, and I think Wolves will have a pretty good day of scoring goals in that game. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's the game actually where Hwang Hye-chan scored 14 points for me in my team in game week 19. So I think that's a really good fixture for Wolves. So Cunha is in the team for that reason. Then we have Haaland, obviously. I think it's just hard to go without him at this point, even against Everton, which is a team that are pretty good at away from home. Even with Haaland still being like a bit of an issue when it comes to how he looks on the pitch. He looked fine against Brentford, but when we saw Foden score a hat-trick and Haaland just get one single assist, he had one pretty huge chance that he missed. But apart from that, didn't really look to score too many goals. But that could just change in an instant. I think the biggest argument against City this week is the fact that they're playing Everton at home, and Everton are a pretty good team. But the answer to that is the fact that they are City, so they could beat anyone 4-0. It doesn't really matter. And also the counter argument against Haaland is the fact that he's also been struggling lately and is playing a tough team. But again, the counter argument there is it's Haaland. He's going to deliver. So I think that's a pretty strong case for why Haaland is a really good captaincy shout. But just looking at this team now, again, I was pretty set on going with Haaland captain just as a safe option, or potentially Darwin or Jota as a differential type of player against a really good team or a really poor team in Burnley. But I think Sonny as Brighton is actually sort of screaming out to me as the best potential captaincy shout for this free hit draft. Because if you're free hitting this week, it's mostly to do something different, it feels like. So why not do something completely different and have Son as captain, which is a player that most people will not be able to afford at this point or even want to bring in because he blanks in game 36. So that's pretty much it for him. I haven't mentioned the other two bench options. I did mention the defenders in Udogie and Branthwaite, but Kaminsky I think is potentially the best goalkeeper as well, playing in Sheffield United at home. You could double up. I think a pretty good strategy when it comes to these free hits I've learned is just back the players that play against Sheffield United. That's what I did last week with Aston Villa, with Martinez in goal, who got 7 points, and Alex Moreno in defense, who got 14 points. And the same could be said for this week as well. So maybe you want to play Kaminsky in goal rather than Ederson. I think that might be preferable, but I don't know. I just go with the more expensive asset in Ederson, but Kaminsky is still a really good player in his own right as a potential backup option if, for example, Ederson gets benched for some reason, because that happens sometimes with Man City. Then we have another Luton player in Ross Barkley as the final sort of midfielder type of guy. You could upgrade him if you have more money in the bank to someone more expensive. For example, Huang, like I mentioned a couple times. Someone like Madison you can go with, or Richarlison if you really like him as well. Richarlison could actually be in this team as well. But I just really like a lot of the attacking assets this week. Cunha is more like a punt, I guess. So you could go with someone like Richarlison over Cunha as well. But I just really like Cunha as a potential option in that game against Brentford because I think it's a pretty good game for Wolves. And I feel like I need some cover from Wolverhampton in that game. But yeah, Barkley in his own right is a pretty good player. He's been really good lately, especially getting some FPL points as well. Doesn't have the best underlying numbers, but he does play against Sheffield United at home, which really helps every week. So yeah, that's pretty much the free hit draft for this game week, and that was the brunt of this video as well. I said it was going to be short, but I've taken a pretty deep, extensive dive into the free hit draft for Game 24, so I hope you enjoyed it, even though most of you guys watching are not going to free it this week. But I think it's just fun to look at the best potential players for each game week either way. So yeah, it's just fun for me, I guess. Moving on to my Game Week 24 plans, and the reason that I said that it's going to be a bit of a short video this time around is the fact that I am pretty set on my Game Week 24 plans. I think my most wanted player, kind of by far, is Darwin Nunez, because I think he's going to play all the 3 matches that are upcoming now, because he got his rest against Arsenal, and Liverpool looked kind of lost without him. So 3 really good fixtures for Darwin, and I think he's going to explode in at least one of them, like I mentioned. So I just really want Darwin. I really want Liverpool attackers at this point. Since I sold Salah, I don't have any Liverpool attackers. I only have Trent Alexander-Arnold, who might not even play this game, because he is still a bit of a doubt when it comes to playing time. He could also play in midfield, to be fair, potentially. So yeah, it's something to keep a lookout for there when it comes to Trent Alexander-Arnold. But yeah, Darwin, I think he's just someone that you need to have for Game 24 and 25, honestly. I think even if Salah comes back in Game 25, I don't think Darwin is going to suffer from that. I think it's more going to affect Jota's minutes instead. Because I think Darwin and Salah are pretty much like the main 2 players in the Liverpool attack. And then Gakpo, Diaz, and Jota will fight for the final 1 or 2 places that are left after that. So yeah, I really like Darwin. Also really don't mind selling Solanke, especially after you let me down last week as my captain, getting a blank, only 2 points. He really looked pretty bad in that game as well. And yes, I know he has a confirmed double game week fixture now in 28. He potentially could play in game week 29 as well, and he has a pretty good fixture in game week 27. But I can easily just sell Watkins at that point, because I think Watkins has some really good fixtures now in the next 3 or 4 game weeks. But then after that, you could easily sell Watkins to Solanke again, or you could do Darwin back to Solanke again in game week 26 as well, because Solanke plays Man City in that fixture as well, Man City at home. But Solanke doesn't have the best fixtures for the next 3 game weeks, so I think it's pretty easy to sell him for Darwin, and I do have the money to do that as well. And that's sort of the upside to me doing the transfers, not super early last week, but doing them on the Friday before the price rises for it was price rises for KDB and or price drop for Salah and price rise for Haaland, basically, which was what prompted me to do the transfer early on the Friday before we got the double game week announcement for Liverpool. But at least the benefit of that is the fact that I do have enough money in the bank to do Solanke to Darwin without any issues. I even would have been able to afford it before Darwin went down in price, which is kind of interesting that he went down in price when I think he's like the most essential player to bring in for this game week if you don't have him already. So yeah, Solanke to Darwin is the transfer that makes the most sense for me. But I could also potentially, if there are some really, really good news about Salah potentially being back for maybe even Game 24, but at least Game 25 if he's back for that those two matches in that game week, then I would have to get some money to do that. And if I do Watkins to Adebayo, I actually have enough money to go from Saka to Salah by itself. So that is kind of an interesting thing if Salah is potentially back for most of the game for Game 24 and get back for Game 25 as well. But I think still I'm just going to go with Solanke to Darwin. So pretty happy with my team in general. I do have some benching decisions, I guess. I do have Gabriel against West Ham away, Gusto against Crystal Palace away, and Estupinian against Spurs away. I got to choose between one of those 3 guys. And you could even mention Branthwaite against Man City away just because he just keeps getting points on my bench. But it's Man City away. So yeah, Branthwaite is just going to have to be on the bench one more time and get another point return, I guess, one more time. But yeah, Estupinian, Gabriel, and Gusto, I'm a bit undecided about this one. I think I need to play Trent just because of the huge upside. If he plays from start, you really want to have Trent in this game. Clean sheet potential, goal potential, assist potential, all that stuff. But Gabriel, Gusto, and Espinan is pretty close. I think I actually prefer Gusto out of the 3. He had a really nice assist for Nicholas Jackson in the cup game, which made me sort of light my eyes up. Just like, oh, imagine if Gusto can get some nice differential points for me. Espinan, I think, has, I don't know, they're playing against Spurs, and we really expect Spurs to score in that game against Brighton. Not only because Brighton have been pretty poor defensively, but because Spurs are really good offensively as well. And Estupiñán, I think, since he came back from injury now, has played sort of far back, and his minutes is also a bit of a risk. Like he was subbed off in game week 23, he was subbed, or game week 22, he was subbed off at the half after a really poor half against Luton, and then in game week 23, he didn't even start the game and came on for the last 15 minutes of the game. So the minutes issue, the team that he's playing against with the clean sheet potential, and also the fact that he's been playing a bit more defensively since he came back from injury, makes me more interested in benching him than anyone else. And also just fresh off of Garnacho just punishing me as a West Ham fan, both in terms of having him on my bench against West Ham and just scoring against my team, I sort of would feel bad about benching Gabriel as well. And I think West Ham have been really poor offensively lately, scoring only 2 penalties. They really lack, or we, I should say, as a West Ham fan, really lack Lucas Paqueta, who's still out for a couple more game weeks. Yes, Kudus is back. Yes, Bowen is pretty good, but West Ham are kind of struggling right now. I think, especially also with the Europa League pretty soon around the corner, I think West Ham will have a bit of an issue in the league next few matches. So yeah, I think Gabriel has pretty good potential to score points there, whether it's clean sheet or if it's scoring from a set piece as well, even though West Ham are pretty good at defending set pieces. But yeah, I do think, especially now talking about it, I do think Estupiñán is the most likely player that I bench out of the 3. But I could be swayed either way, especially if there are news about Gusto potentially not playing or something like that, because Gusto is also not like completely nailed to play for Chelsea, but that's one of my dilemmas, I guess. Captaincy is also sort of a dilemma, especially when I bring in Darwin. I could go with the differential in Darwin, but I also, like I said previously, I think Haaland just makes a lot of sense as a captain, regardless of his current form, I guess, because he's just recently back from injury. And the fact that Everton are a pretty tough team to break down. But I have also De Bruyne and Foden, so I sort of have to back Man City to score a lot of goals in this game. And at Goodison Park, they scored 3 goals pretty easily against Everton and sort of let off the gas. So with De Bruyne and Haaland back, compared to that game, I think it should be a pretty good turn of events for Man City. And Everton have been a bit up and down. It's pretty hard to gauge Everton, but against Man City, I think they're going to struggle. So I think Haaland is a pretty safe captaincy option, but I could be swayed to go with Darwin. But I think just having Darwin in itself by himself is a decent enough proposition. So yeah, I could be swayed to Darwin, but currently I'm leaning towards Haaland. Apart from that, I can't really see any other really good captaincy option that I could potentially bring in. So Haaland is pretty much a captain. And once again, I'm probably going to bench Garnacho right after his 16-pointer against West Ham. I'm going to mention this game as well, playing against Aston Villa. We just saw Aston Villa concede three goals against Chelsea, which is sort of like giving me a nice option to go with Garnacho instead. But especially if I do select Darwin, I just have too many players that I want to play rather than Garnacho, basically. I'm not going to bench De Bruyne or Foden against Everton at home to play Garnacho against Aston Villa. I think Watkins is a better pick as well. I think Aston Villa will win that game. They're playing at home, even though they lost to Chelsea. I think at home in the league, it should be a pretty good game for them. And especially with Lisandro Martinez being injured for Man United now as well, Watkins should have a pretty good time against Man United after that 18-pointer in game week 23. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for my team. I'm pretty set on this current team that you see before you. Still looking to potentially get Salah in game 25, but we'll talk more about that in next week for the videos there. And if you missed it on my on the FPL School podcast this week, I did mention that if you want your team to be sort of, if you want me to go through your team's plans from now, or basically from game week 25 and onwards to like game week 31, 32, or potentially even 34 because of the double game weeks. If you want me to go into your team and look at your specific team, you watching right now, in the comments down below, you can leave your FPL ID and I will look into your team and have it in a video next week probably, where I go through your team and how it should be best set up for all the chips, all the blanks, all the doubles, all that stuff. So yeah, please do that if you want to as well. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and give the video a like. That would really help with the algorithm and all that stuff. So yeah, thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you next time. It's been a fun time. See ya and goodbye.